What's good, folks? You're listening to Development Shit, the pod that talks about the highs and lows of growth. Take a deep dive into life's lessons with a dash of humor with your hosts, Mell and B.
Welcome back to Development and Shit. We are so happy that you have taken the time to listen to us speak from the heart. This is episode 9, and the topic today is codependency. Whoop, 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 whoop. I don't know if you're going to be whoop, whoop, whooping. No, I'm just playing. But this might be a wake-up call for some, confirmation for others, or you can use this information to support a loved one. Let's go ahead and step into some deep waters. B, kick off the first topic. Let us know, what is codependency, signs and symptoms?
Yes, what's up, everybody? So glad you guys are here. This is a deep conversation, a deep topic, one that I know all too personally. So codependency is basically a hot mess, since you're asking me, right? However, I know that the besties need a breakdown, so let me give you guys a breakdown. According to the dictionary, co means joint, mutual, or common, and dependency means the state of needing something or someone. So I put those two together, and it's basically two or more people who are dependent on each other for various things, support, or control. Now, the Oxford Dictionary defines the codependency as excessive emotional and physiological reliance on a partner. I'm going to say that one more time. Oxford Dictionary defines codependency as excessive emotional and psychological reliance on a partner, typically one who requires support on account of an illness.
Yeah, that excessive emotional and psychological reliance, that's the part that really stands out to me.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. Now, according to Dr. Eckelberg in Very Well Mind, codependency is a circular relationship in which one person needs the other person, who in turn needs to be needed. The codependent person, known as the giver, feels worthless unless they are needed by and making sacrifices for the enabler, otherwise known as the taker.
Oh my God. I felt another punch. I'm feeling worthless unless
get deep.
Yeah, feels worthless unless they are needed. That hits home for me.
Yeah, unless they're needed. I mean, I can only imagine the burden. No, I do imagine the burden because I know the burden of that. Now, the signs of a codependent relationship, in my experience, is when a person tries to control the other person, is the best way that I can put it. Now, codependency is really draining because it's a relationship that can never be satisfied or resolved. The person who is dependent is always looking for ways to make the taker or the other person who depends on them more needy, which is my experience. And the taker forms a need for the enabler or this giver, but struggles to fulfill what the other needs. It's such an unhealthy dynamic, and it's easy to think that you're just being helpful or being a good friend or a parent or a sibling.
Yeah, and that's really what I always consider myself, helping. I'm just being a good person, you know? I want to be good.
It's definitely a slippery slope. It's a fine line from being good and helping to kind of like manipulating the situation. The problem comes in is when you can't live your life and when things become weird. You know, like if a person that if you're the giver and the person that is relying on you and dependent upon you is not doing what you need them to do, then that's where it really starts getting weird, because you become a mess. And what it boils down to me, again, like I said earlier, is control and manipulation to get what you need to feel secure and whole. However, the result is really misery and pain. So, yeah.
We are deep.
Yeah,
it's deep today.
It's definitely deep. Misery and pain, child. That's what it just boils down to.
Well, I am really just learning what codependency is and what it means. Before I got a full understanding of codependency, I thought it was about, being dependent upon another person and not wanting to be alone. According to Psychology Today, codependency is a dysfunctional relationship dynamic where one person assumes the role of the giver, sacrificing their own needs and well-being for the sake of the other, the taker. The bonding question doesn't have to be romantic, okay? It can occur just as easily between parent and child, friends, and family members.
Oh, yes.
The Urban Dictionary says a codependent person is one who is willing to be abused, one who gets meaning out of sticking in an abusive relationship. Now, that's some heavy stuff.
Yeah, that is some serious heavy stuff. And like I said, I'm all too familiar, and I can't wait to talk about, my own personal experience.
How do we recognize the signs and symptoms. That's important because it took me quite a while to realize that I was codependent. Some signs can be feeling like you're responsible for the success and well-being of another grown person. You feel like you have to save your loved ones from something. You may be attracted to weakness and vulnerability. You are defined by a function, what you do or can do to serve the needs of others. You are an enabler, not understanding how and when to set boundaries. Their issues are your issues. You don't feel alone when you feel needed by others, or you tend to be fixated on other people.
Wow. Yeah, you definitely get fixated. You kind of like, they become your whole world, that they become your project, you know. And what really stuck out to me is that you're defined by a function and what you do or can do to serve the needs of others. And basically you have no boundaries. You don't know how to set boundaries. It just becomes a cycle between you and the person that you're enabling. You know, it's just a never ending story. And like you said, you tend to get fixated on other people's problems.
You're trying to fix everything going on in their life.
To me, it's also like a deflection from your own stuff that you have going on. You know, that you just kind of like get fixated on somebody else's problem. Like their life is so messed up, but you tend to not even be able to focus on your own. So it's quite crazy.
1000%.
Just to talk about my personal experience, like I was telling you guys earlier, I had a personal experience with codependency, and codependency is a mess. To be quite frank, I realized that shit when I was going through a recovery program back in the day called Celebrate Recovery back in 2007. And just real quick, it was after a breakup. I had an ex who cheated on me with a person that I thought was a close friend, and I spiraled out of control and found myself on a therapist's couch, as well as in this program that helped people recover from traumatic and trauma and any kind of addiction or anything, right? And it turned out that both of these programs, the therapy and the program, were the best things that happened to me in my life. And because it changed the trajectory of my life, it basically helped me see myself in a way that I probably wouldn't have done if I didn't go through the program. But during the time that I was going through the program, I learned that I had a codependent relationship with you, Mel. Yeah. So I said I had a codependent relationship with you, Mellenee.
Yeah. So you figured that shit out way before me.
Right. And I can remember the facilitator explaining what codependency was in the session, and all I could think about is how ugly I had been to you, Mel. I mean, how ugly and how controlling I was. I mean, I was the enabler. I wanted you to need me because you were my closest friend, and me and Mellenee has been friends for over 20 years. Something.
It's been 20 now for sure.
Your baby in college. I mean, I was
right.
there.
He 18.
You know what I'm saying? I was there before he was even thought of, right? Mm-hmm. But again, I wanted you to need me because you were my closest friend, you know, and I didn't want to lose you. We basically hung out every day. We were roommates at one point. We served in ministry together. I mean, you were all that I had, right? And you saw me and you understood me. But my thinking was to do whatever I could to, you know, keep you in my life and make you happy. Now, go ahead.
Everything that you said is in terms of us, you know, hanging out every day, being roommates at one point, serving in ministry, and just the bond or the connection that we had. I thought it was totally normal. Like, you couldn't have told me that we did not have a healthy friendship. Because we literally did everything together. So obviously I didn't know that I was codependent too. And I wanted it just the way that it was because we were always there for each other.
Right. And I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with it either. But the problem came in is that if you didn't do certain things, I was fucked up, you know? So that was the big gag, right? And I could look back to different situations when I had given you some advice and you didn't take it. And I would get so upset, or when you chose to hang out with Izzy's dad instead of me or other friends instead of me, I would be devastated, Mel. I mean, absolutely devastated. I didn't know how to set healthy boundaries or even express myself in a clear manner either, to express to you that I even had these feelings. things. But I was a mess,
Right.
child.
Yeah. Well, I was like you. Like, what is a boundary? Boundary? I don't know what that is.
Right. So I rarely said no to you or people that I felt were important in my life. And if you needed anything, I was there, or so I thought. I thought I was being helpful, as we talked about earlier. And I'm not sure if I took it out on you, but when I was alone, I could remember feeling worthless and disappointed. So that definition earlier, or the explanation of the feeling of worthlessness, I felt like crap. I felt disappointed. I felt like, it was almost the end of the world. I was losing my friend, which was all not even what was going on, but it was crazy, And so I'm not sure if I mean, like I said, did you notice me taking it out on you at any point?
I really didn't. And of course, I didn't really understand the internal things that you were experiencing. But from my perspective, I just thought, you cared about me and you didn't want me to be hurt and stuff like that, which I think is true. But I just didn't understand it in the negative aspect of what was going on. Like, I didn't see it like you treating me bad or nothing like that. I was just like, she's my friend. She want what's best for me. And she mad because she know I'm doing some stupid shit.
Right. You were over there living your best life and I'm all miserable and shit. I was like, what in the world? And when I had my aha moment back in 2007, I knew that I didn't want to have control over anyone, because that's what it basically was, that I wanted you to do what I wanted you to do. If I did this for you, then I thought that you should want to be with me all the time and not wanting to have anybody else in your life. And I didn't want that anymore. And that type of relationship was exhausting and it was very unhealthy. I mean, who wants that type of relationship, right? And so I vowed to change my ways and be a better friend in our relationship. I mean, I was not intentionally trying to control you, but I guess over the years of trauma and abuse, I had developed that codependency. And that's my personal experience with codependency. And I actually seen this dynamic with the mother and daughter while I was going through the program as well. And the daughter was a recovering drug addict, and the mother would want to control her and enable the daughter to such a point. If she didn't do what she wanted her to do, she wouldn't keep the kids and she would take out her frustration on her husband. And that was all and they were all in the program together because they all were codependent and it was affecting the whole family. And codependency is a vicious cycle that can affect the entire family, or should I say it trickles in every area of your life. It wreaks havoc.
Yes, it does. It's chaotic. And yes, a vicious cycle that can affect the entire family resonates with me because I definitely want to break cycles with my children. I do not want to keep passing on this trauma and passing on these, learned or toxic coping skills and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely something worth nibbing in the bud. So
most definitely. So I'm going to be real transparent. I have, B, she had her epiphany way back in 2007. For me, I've just discovered within the last 6 to 9 months, yes, I'm talking about real recent, that I have codependent behaviors. So I realized that over the course of my life, in friendships and romantic relationships, I always needed to be needed. Mm-hmm. I constantly made sacrifices and gave of myself, my time, my money when I had it. I would always wonder why in my romantic relationships, I would do all these things for my boyfriends, thinking I'm being helpful and supportive, but I was really enabling their dependence. And then when it seemed like they lost their ambition or I felt like they started taking advantage of me, I was confused. Right. And confused because I'm like, this help I've been doing. And all of a sudden, like, well, wow. But I can also recall times I was in a relationship, I would take on my partner's responsibilities like they were my own. Okay, so if they needed a job, I'm doing job searches with them.
What? Hold on, wait a minute. Wait, what? Hold on now. Hold on a doggone pick a minute. Now you taking it on to a whole nother level, doing job searches for them?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm trying to help.
Yeah.
I'm doing job searches. Oh, you need a job? Okay, let me give you some leads. Let me give you some leads.
They don't even have a job is the gag. Lord.
That part too. Oh Lord, that's another segment. But not realizing that I'm getting my meaning through them. I'm getting my meaning by trying to be everything for them. And I was constantly trying to prove my worth. At the end of the day, I really think that's what it was about. I was, from abandonment issues and all that. I was constantly trying to prove my worth. And later on in life, I found myself in this incredibly toxic friendship, not
B. Okay,
Not
'cause I know
me.
she was.
Lord, please let the people know.
But I found myself in this incredibly toxic friendship and I couldn't shake loose and I couldn't understand it. I literally felt crazy. She had proved herself not to be trustworthy or loyal, yet I remained her friend. I was always encouraging her, trying to help her get out of the life she was living, trying to help her find the success she claimed she wanted. And then one day, after she had a mental health episode, I realized that I couldn't save her. And it was through that relationship that I started to see the savior complex in myself. I didn't name it that at the time, but I see now that that's what it is, or that's what it was. And through my friendships and relationships, I constantly wanted to save